The Southern Africa Agricultural Initiative has rejected President Cyril Ramaphosa's plan to centralize the national vaccination campaign and vaccine procurement within the state. In his address, President Ramaphosa declared foot and mouth disease a national disaster. Ramaphosa says the economic impact of the disease of the country has been significant. However, the Farming Network organization has welcomed Ramaphosa's announcement declaring foot and mouth disease a national disaster. But it says the Agricultural Department does not have the capacity to manage the epidemic through central control. Virginia Mahlangu, Senior Research Technician in the FMD Vaccine Production. We welcome you. A very good afternoon. So it's great to have you with us, Virginia. Welcome. So quite differing views right from the farming community in response to the President's declaration of foot and mouth disease a national disaster, which most favor, but discrepancies arise in opinion from Ramaphosa's plan to centralize the national vaccination campaign and vaccine procurement within the state, saying that the Agricultural Department does not have the capacity to manage the epidemic through central control. Your take as the vaccine producers. Good afternoon.
Well, I can say that at the moment, as the ARC, we have been able to manufacture the vaccine, FMD vaccine.
Please don't stop.
What we have at the moment is not sufficient to vaccinate the entire country because of the infrastructure that we have and also the need to upscale our processes, which is something that we are looking into doing in the coming months as we plan to give South Africa more of the vaccines, as 20,000 doses per month has been promised. But then in the coming year, as we upscale, we're also working towards giving South Africa more doses of vaccine in a year. At the moment, there has been talks that there is vaccine that has been procured from abroad that will be used because what we have is not sufficient in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, AfriForum says that the president utterly failed farmers, Virginia, and meat consumers on his insistence of a centralized procurement process. So maybe talk to us about the positive aspects then or reasoning by the president, especially from a production perspective, and also briefly outline the challenges this would have on both production and distribution of the vaccine for FMD. We know South Africa has just resumed, as you've just rightly pointed out, just resumed local production in 20 years, and the news that 28 million vials are needed. It's quite huge.
True. That is very true. But like I said, as we cannot be able to provide the vaccine that the country needs, it is important that we procure from other countries. And that can only be done via the government. The government is responsible to procure that. As a scientist in the ARC, our job is to ensure that we are able to provide the South Africa with the vaccine that it needs. But that is something that we are working towards doing in the near future. But at the moment, we cannot. Therefore, we are surely dependent on the vaccine that will be procured, which is not procured by the ARC, but the government itself is responsible for procuring this vaccine. Now, looking at what the president has said yesterday, declaring the FMD as the state of disaster, that eliminates some of the restrictions that are there in terms of procurement, whereby the government is able to bypass some of the rules and be able to buy without going through certain channels to try and speed up. Because being a state of disaster, that also means that it is very important that the vaccination is carried out as soon as possible. And for us to be able to do that, we need to involve other parties as well to be able to get the vaccine that the country needs. And government needs to outsource that. As South Africa, we cannot be able to give South Africa that much. And also because we have been relying on BVI, BVI hasn't been able to provide us with that much at the moment. Yes, we have about 14 million animals that needs to be vaccinated. Therefore, we need about 28 million doses of the vaccine. Therefore, it is important that it is procured from outside South Africa.
All right, Virginia, unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for that engagement.